you very much for attending this webinar. Welcome to the 8th and final webinar of the ENRIITC Your Knowledge series. As you already know, ENRIITC is an European Horizon 2020 project led by the European Spallation Source with 5 research infrastructures and 5 ILOs organizations in the consortium. So the aim of ENRIITC is to build a permanent pan-European network of industrial liaison officers and industrial contact officers and enable industry to become a full partner of research infrastructures, whether it is as a user, a supplier, or a co-creator. So this will be an interactive webinar where at the end, we will ask a couple of questions to frame the discussion. Your input will be really valuable. So I ask you to open Web Explorer in your mobiles, phone, or PCs and enter slido.com with hashtag number 939548. And this way you will be ready to answer the questions when they appear on the screen at the end of the session. So I would like to mention that the session is being recorded and by reminding in the meeting you are consenting to being recorded. And after the webinar, we will be very pleased if you could answer the survey that you will receive. So let me start with a short reminder of our ENRIITC Your Knowledge series. As I said before, this webinar closes the series of online webinars for ILOs and ICOs that we have been organizing since 1 year ago. As you all know, these webinars topics are linked to the different aspects of the strategy for training of ILOs and ICOs, which is a deliverable of the ENRIITC project and is published in our website. So you can see that we have covered different topics. For example, we dedicated time to learn about the nature of the ILO and ICO role, and to explore a potential involvement of ILOs fostering industry as a user of research infrastructures. We also learned about how to organize brokerage events in physical format, but also online, which have become so popular during the last couple of years. We discussed about the impact of COVID, in particular for the big science market, and we also addressed SMEs and formal matters to be resolved when setting up collaboration, like how to raise licensing, IPR, and so on. So in this final webinar, the approach is different, and ENRIITC is a network of people, ILOs and ICOs from all across Europe with different backgrounds, cultures, ways of working, but with a common mission, because we all believe that there is a potential in increasing collaboration between industry and research infrastructures, that this collaboration is a strong driver towards innovation. So as I say, the real value of ENRIITC is all the experience and knowledge from such a varied network of professionals as the image tries to suggest. In fact, this is a real image from our first digital networking meeting in October 2020. And today we will hear about the experiences of a group of us in a collection of very short presentations. Let me say a marathon of presentations. I hope you find them interesting. Of course, thank you very much to all the attendees and to all our speakers for finding time for this webinar. So we will focus the today discussion on the topics of the slide. And for that, we have asked ILOs and ICOs to provide their personal experiences addressing any of these questions. These experiences might give us new ideas or provide inspiration for new projects. This is the spirit of ENRIITC. Speakers will talk about what they have learned, organizing brokerage events involving industry in different ways or bridging different S3 domains. And you will see that the first block focused on the ENRIITC pilot brokerage events organized up to now. And then the next presentations will cover different topics like training, R&D, and building collaborations. I ask all the speakers to stick to their 5 minutes to give some time for discussion at the end. So now we can start with our first speaker. Is Anna Hall, director of Big Science Sweden. Anna organized a digital pan-European brokerage event included in ENRIITC, which was a big success. So Anna, when you want. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Belen. I'm very happy to be here today and present my findings and conclusions. I'm very happy to have this interactive workshop also so we can learn together. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I'm Anna Hall, I'm the program director of Big Science Sweden, and I have been involved in ENRIITC both in Work Package 3 and Work Package 4. So I've been able to do the strategies and talk on how to work and also to practice in the brokerage event. So in my experience, and we have been working both with focus groups in the Work Package 3 and our theories, how can we involve the industry more in big science? Could then a pan-European partnering be a way? Or how does the industry themselves look upon industry involvement in big science? So in our work in Work Package 3, we had a focus group where we invited the industry, and we also had a broad discussion among a number of ILOs on how to collaborate both with industry and also between different ILO organizations throughout Europe. And then we also in Work Package 4 then had a brokerage event, Pan-European Partnering, Building Excellent Research Facilities in February. It was a very successful event. We were over 200, about 230 participants. It was a digital event. We had participants from 25 countries, and we arranged 171 one-to-one meetings. So it was a very interactive and very relation-building event. And I will actually start in this event. And I think the good part with this event was that the facilities were very, very involved. We had ITER, CERN, ESO, donors that presented their future needs. So we can actually collaborate around something real, around the future needs, how the research facilities would like to collaborate with industry. But we also then have learned from the industry, it's difficult as a small company to come in. So we need to build partnership and we need to build consortia. So in this Pan-European Partnering event, we also invited 3 system integrators, big companies collaborating with smaller sub-suppliers. So it was Jacobs from UK, Ansaldo from Italy, and IDOM from Spain, sharing their experience, also talking about best practicing when you collaborate in partnership. So the event was very successful, and I heard and got the feedback afterwards that many of the companies that have had meetings both with facilities and between the different companies, they are continuing keeping their relationship, and they are also giving the feedback. This is what we need. We need to help. We need to get the help in facilitating relationships. And that was actually our theory when we started. So it started with a meeting with ILOs. We discussed around how can we collaborate more. And then we invited the industry and had a working session in a workshop. And the theme was pan-European partnering between companies on the big science market, and how can we bring down the entry barriers for SME on the big science market. And the industry reflection was that it is very interesting to come into small contracts, but they see that actually it's the research facilities are putting on bigger and bigger companies and then contracts, and then the SME needs help to find partners. And the partnership evolves over time, and you need different events to keep this relationship going. It doesn't go by itself. And it's important then to enter together in early phases. So you need to have some type of collaboration, even if it's not a call out. And the industry had this idea, then can we enforce the role of the ILO to have a pan-European responsibility together? And the industry find also ILO could really prepare the consortia. We work with incentives, databases of companies, risk handling and structures and so forth, and also promote success stories on how have other consortia formed. So the industry was really on that this is an important matter. And then we had a workshop with only ILOs discussing what we have learned and how we work together and how we could help industry. And we find that we have different structures in different countries. However, there's a lot of similarities and we could formalize those and work together. And we think that the role of the ILOs is evolving, that we could also involve knowledge transfer in a more structured way. And we also had very interesting KPI discussion where we also can develop a lot. And we learn from each other and are strong together. That's what we reflected on. So in this work, arranging the brokerage event and having these workshops with the industry and with the ILOs, I would like to sum up my findings in 3 points. We see that there are large investments coming up in the big science market and new ways of collaboration is needed. We also think there is a funding perspective that research facilities should of course provide excellent research, but we also think in order to fund these big projects, we also need to pitch it to funding bodies throughout Europe, that this is also the research facilities are driving innovation, technology development, and that really foster European competitiveness in many different areas, AI, big data, material development, and so forth. And then number 2, providing state-of-the-art technology to research facility is a teamwork and needs collaboration across borders. We saw that both in our discussions with industry, but also in our brokerage event among SMEs, system integrators, and so forth. So one way of bringing down the entry barriers for SME in the big science market is to work with a long-term process of partnering and find new ways of working. We also had a very interesting discussion on maybe we should have KPIs on the research facilities, how they could work with SME and consortia and so forth. And number 3, the ILOs can form structures for industry collaboration over time, be this sustainable platform for collaboration, help industry to form partnership in a very early stage, and also to keep those partnership events where they can meet so they can form the relationship over time. So, and the conclusion was that ILOs in Europe are strong together, and the common events and exchange of experience strengthen the ILO community in Europe. Thank you so much. That was our funding. I hope we have a lot of ILOs in the meeting that you can share more experience in the Sligo poll later on.
Okay, thank you very much, Anna, for sharing with us these interesting findings. We don't have time now for questions, so if you want, we can have a discussion at the end of the webinar, and you will be able to make some questions. So next up is Pauline Audergon, who is working for the Center for Genomic Regulation, a node of Instruct-ERIC, a distributed research infrastructure that provides open access to high-end structural biology services and techniques. Pauline was involved in the organization of an ENRIITC associate event, and she will provide some lessons learned. So Pauline, what do you want?
Hi, thanks, Belen. Yes, so I'm Pauline Audergon. I'm project manager in Instruct-ERIC, which is a research infrastructure for structural biology in Europe. And we were lucky to get the support of ENRIITC to organize a pilot event to try to gain some visibility amongst the that might be interested in using our research infrastructure, as it is something that we are a bit struggling with in our research infrastructure, is getting visibility amongst the private sector. So the main aim of our event is, as I mentioned, was to gain visibility amongst industry SMEs that are not already in our community of users. Even if we already have some of these users, we really want to reach other people that might really benefit from accessing our cutting edge technologies, but do not know about us. And another thing that we really want to do, and that is also very much linked, is that we want to strengthen our network of ILO and ICO. So Instruct is a federated structural biology research infrastructure. So we have centers a bit everywhere in Europe. And some of our centers are much more advanced at collaborating with industry, while others are not. And we are trying to really have more of a central, stronger network of ILO ICOs within Instruct and also outside to help us with the collaboration with industry. And another key thing that we wanted to test via this pilot event was also trying new way to disseminate, to communicate with the industry using different dissemination tools like the social network. So we tried the LinkedIn campaign to disseminate about our events. We used the ILO ICO network within Instruct and beyond the ENRIITC network, and also try to collaborate with other research infrastructure to disseminate about our event. So we organized our event in 3 main sessions. The main goal was really to give an introduction about what we are, who we are, how access can be done to our research infrastructure, give a more technical overview of what we do in the second session. And then, even if it was a remote event, and we know that interactive session can be a bit tricky, we decided to try a new format for interaction, which was giving the opportunity of for the participants to have a 5-10 minutes discussion with the experts of their choice in a field of structural biology. For the organization of this event, we had 5 of our 14 centers that were involved in the organization and that gave talk and their input, and 1 partner project that is INEX Discovery that helped with the organization and with the talks. We had more than 50 registrants and 25 participants that were coming from academia, industry, and SMEs, and that were coming from 14 countries, 12 of them within Europe, but we also had 1 participant from Africa and 1 from the US. So basically, what can we say about this event? So the event went quite smoothly, even if our program was a bit dense. We luckily managed to reach some scientists that were outside of our known Instruct community. And also these scientists, some of them were coming from an SME and an industry, which were the main target that we were trying to have. So we were quite happy about that. Of course, it was not at the scale as what we have heard in the former talk. It was still quite few participants, but at that stage, any participants count for her. So we were still quite happy to see new faces that discovered and could hear about what we are doing. At that stage, it's a bit difficult to see the effect of the new dissemination strategy that we use, such as our LinkedIn campaign. So we could see that it led to quite a few views on our website, like more than 200 views via LinkedIn, but whether that led to some participants actually decided to join via this LinkedIn campaign is still unsure. So it's something we need to investigate. But from the feedback that we got, we are considering organizing other shorter follow-up events that would be a bit more application focused, knowing that the first one was really an introduction and it was quite a lot of information to take in. So we think that shorter, more focused application might be better targeted towards our industry partners. And overall, for us, it was a great push to help us develop our network of ILO and ICOs, and it's really something that we are trying to develop even more. And it was great for us. And a final word on the interactive session. So sadly, we made it optional, and it was at the end of the event. We had few people that participated in it. However, all the feedback that we got from the participants were very positive. So it was a great way for people to directly talk to the experts and ask their question, ask about questions about their projects. And we will definitely try to follow up on this way of interacting on a one-to-one basis. And we after that had already email conversation with these participants that are interested in following up with us. So we were quite happy with this format. And I think that's basically all that I wanted to say about our event. So
okay, thank you very much, Pauline, for sharing with us your lessons learned. And it's good to see that you have follow-up events in mind. So now it's time for a flash presentation about another associate event, and this time it's Erik Fernandez, manager of Induciencia, the Spanish platform for science industry, who will provide his views on the organization of the event. So Erik,
okay,
you want?
Yes, thank you very much, Belen, for the introduction, and thank you for the invitation to talk about our event, our co-organized event between Induciencia and CDTI. So you know very much about this event, how it was. So our idea was, it is a national event. It has been made in Spain. And the idea we had in the beginning was boosting the collaboration in early stages between companies and research facilities. So in Spain, we have some facilities which are called scientific and technological singular facilities. And luckily, last month, all of them approved or had approved their strategic plans from the ministry. Okay, so we had really fresh documents talking about their future technological trends or their view or the technologies they will need to develop, and also part of the investment they will do. So our vision was try to put all together in a meeting. Okay, so the idea was that they will present every scientific facility in Spain regarding science, accelerator science, fusion, and astrophysics and astronomy. They were 12 facilities talking in a short presentation about a specific technology development opportunities and investment opportunities, so tenders that they will publish shortly. And the idea was that they will present this with specific topics, and after that to have some networking moments during the coffee and during the lunch. Okay, so the dissemination of the event, we made it together, CDTI and ourselves, through the regular channels like social network we have in LinkedIn and so on, and also through the direct mailing to the databases we had. And luckily, we had a good number of registrations. We had close to 150 registered bodies from different fields. You could see that the majority of them are SMEs, which is very, very good. And also a good number of big companies, research centers, public bodies, and university. I think it is well balanced and is a good reference of the ecosystem in Spain. I think is the idea we had. And there was registrations apart of the people talking in the tables. Okay, and finally we had a really round number of 100 participants, because it was a physical event, and close to 50 participants were not attending. But if you remember the percentages we have here, so we can see, if we go back and forward again, that the percentages keeps the same. So more or less in all the different kind of bodies are feeling the same way. So it's something that we need to take into account with when we do a physical event, that at least close to 30% of people is not attending to the meeting. I think this is a lesson that we learn and we need to keep into account. And here you have some pictures of the event with the State Secretary of the Science Ministry opening the event, and this is a family picture, and different pictures during the networking coffee and networking lunch. So what we found interesting is that physical events are gaining attention again, and people were really, really happy to have the opportunity of being in person. And as Anna mentioned in the beginning, so our role is try to help them in order to establish these relationships. And we think that having those presentations with a specific collaboration opportunities in terms of technology and in terms of future tenders, it's very useful, because they presented this, and in a really easy way, it will flux, and during the networking lunch, the companies will be talking with the people and the relationship will appear. And we have many feedbacks about meetings that will happen thanks to this event in order to talk about some specific topics that were commented during the presentation. So I think that the lessons learned, the first of all, is that physical events are good events in order to establish networking. You need to see each other and to be face to face in order to establish a first contact, especially when you don't know each other, and it's a very good place to broke this first cold door contact. And the second one is that the format we thought worked really well. So be specific and talk about specific collaboration topics that you are planning in the future. So it's something that we need to ask to research infrastructure at other European level. So that's all from my side. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Erik. I think this has been the first experience trying to put together all the national big science facilities and the Spanish industry, and the outcome has been really positive.
Yeah, so, it's a pilot that worked well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So moving on, the social science and humanities domain, our next flash speaker is Iulianna van der Lek, Training and Education Officer at CLARIN ERIC. She will also provide some insights on the associate event that was organized by CLARIN and Dariat. So Iulianna, when you want.
Yes, hello, yes. With support from ENRIITC and in close collaboration with Daria, CLARIN has organized an event for a workshop, a virtual workshop for the social sciences and humanities for research infrastructures from the social sciences and humanities domain. Just a second, my mouse is a bit stuck. Oh, I have animation, sorry for that. Okay, so the event, in details in a nutshell, the event took place on the 11th of March. We started to organize the event in January, and because of the high number of COVID cases in the Netherlands, we decided to organize the event virtually and for half a day. In total, we had 35 participants. Out of these 35, we had 13 speakers from SSH Research Infrastructures, 2 representatives from SMEs, 7 participants from representing research infrastructures, and then 8 research institutes, 4 from universities, and then 1 from a project. The aims of the event were to raise the interest of leading SSH-ERIs in establishing a joint SSH-ERI Industry Contact Officer training program based on the ENRIITC approach. And also to hear and exchange experiences about past and present innovation and collaboration activities and with non-academic and commercial entities, and also identify common challenges regarding the skills that SSH-ERI staff needs to reach out beyond academia. In a nutshell, these were the main topics for discussion. We had we had 2 major topics, and we split the participants into breakout rooms. They discussed each topic in their turn, after which a rapporteur presented the main findings. So the main topics for discussion was why is it increasingly urgent that the ERIs strengthen their collaboration in non-academic entities. We preferred, I must say that we learned via a pre-event survey that the SSH-ERI preferred the term non-academic entities to the industry, because the ERIs collaborate also with universities and organizations from the public sectors and also commercial companies. But the situation depends from one SSH-ERI to another. Another question was, what are the main drivers making ERI innovation partnerships with European industry so important? And what steps do they need to take individually and collectively to become truly innovation ready quickly? We centered the discussion around the concept of innovation because we learned that this is, let's say, a hot topic in the SSH field. The lessons learned. Overall, we were very happy with the outcome of the event. Initially, we planned for 40 participants to keep the event small and the discussions focused. And the interactions were very dynamic and we learned from each other a lot. We also learned that innovation in SSH is a stepwise process and it cannot be acquired quickly. We need to facilitate the integration of SSH ERIs in the academia industry cooperation. We discussed the fact that there is an academia industry cooperation for a long time, and somehow the infrastructure, it is not yet clear what role the infrastructures can play in this kind of cooperation. Maybe the SSH ERIs can build a bridge between the two and facilitate the technical infrastructure for research projects and co-development of language technologies and other technologies that are needed for the society. All SSH ERIs agreed that there is a need to increase the general awareness for the potential and benefits of developing an environment for innovation. We also discussed the terminology ICO versus ILO, and we came to the conclusion that the term innovation officer is rather more suitable for our needs. And this innovation officer could be the translator between the ERIs and the industry. We commonly agree that a recently launched SSH Open Marketplace could be a suitable database to identify training topics for the industry and non-academic partners. And based on this, with the help of this marketplace, we could pull together a list with suitable training courses for the industry on data management topics and legal and ethical issues in data sharing and reviews. A consultancy services would also be useful, like a central consultancy services for SSH related data for immediate questions or actions on data and knowledge management for the public and IT sector. And the so-called business plan that is usually referred to in industry settings could turn into a sustainability plan with the following ingredients: perceived societal relevance and diversification of income. And we also learned that there is a need, we need to change the framework around the IPR issues. Possible next steps. These were the final recommendations at the end of the workshops for the participating ERIs. Identify who in their organization is taking or has the role of innovation officer, discuss the needs of the IOs in terms of present skills needs, and try to offer a pilot training session for those skills. So basically, custom training that would cover the needs of that respective organization, and maybe ENRIITC help us set up such a pilot training program. That's it in a nutshell. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Iulianna, for sharing with us your findings and for introducing us the figure of innovation office that you have found. Now, finalizing this first cycle, we have our colleague, Michel, who led an ILO-organized event in Geneva, focusing on ELT instruments. After all this time, it was a physical event, and it turned out really well. So, Michel, we are eager to listen to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Belen, for the introduction. My name is Michel Hübner from the Swiss ILO office. Yes, indeed, I'm reporting here from an information day for the industry on the ELT, the European Extremely Large Telescope. The event took place in Geneva one month ago, and it was organized by the ILO group from the ESO, from the European Southern Observatory organization in Munich. Maybe the first thing and one of the specific characters of this event was that we organized it in the international organizational districts of Geneva, and when we applied to the space in this conference center, this event was not recognized as not as a, let's say, usual standard business event, but as an event which is in line with the international spirit of Geneva. That means which contributes to the peace in the world and the cooperation among nations. And I think this is a strong message, of course, was a strong message to all the participants, but it's also a strong message to our sponsors. And for instance, here to ENRIITC, what we are doing is clearly recognized by the international community as a vector, as a contribution for peace in the world and cooperation among nations. When in these auditoriums, usually I assume committees or commissions are dealing with or arbitrating conflicts in the world among nations. Here we were together to build a telescope pointing to the universe and eventually contemplating also our uniqueness as human beings. So I think that was also first of all to say an original element and a specific element in organizing this event at this location. The goal, as the title says it, is clear to provide procurement information to the European supplier industry, and moving maybe to the event challenges and to the lessons learned, which interests the audience today. First of all, I think the challenge was obviously to restart a large international event after two years of pandemic, and by the way, we had to postpone the event from February to April because the variant Omicron struck in, and okay, we had to that created, of course, some logistical and communications issues. So first point, then an event new of a kind, because here I mean, the ILOs, they usually deal with procurements from one organizations, and here we bridge the gap with the laboratories, the European laboratories, the astronomy laboratories who are building the instruments, and their procurements, they run on the jurisdiction of each European nation, so to say. So this was something which was certainly a challenge to provide the right information on how to access to these procurements from foreign countries, and to make sure that there is no preference. There's no national preference in these procurements, but that these procurements are communicated to all the potential European suppliers for these instruments on the telescope procurement activity parameter. So it was important to acknowledge the role of each stakeholders of this telescope. The ESO organization builds the telescope, and once again, it's the consortia, it's astronomy consortia who are building the instruments, which then finally get connected to the telescope, and that is a complex political structure as well, and and from the procurement, of course, it's a challenge to clearly explain what are the mechanisms to access these procurements. And then coming maybe to something which is more global, of course, with the new communication tools, with the new digital communication tools for organizing such events, we tried to make it as inclusive as possible, and that starts with the way we disseminate the event, who is concerned. Of course, we wanted to have newcomers, but not any newcomers. There's no free lunch. We wanted to have a fit to purpose event. So that is, always, I think, something which we have to take into account: who is concerned, who is invited, why attend, and to really communicate appropriately on the added value of the event. So upfront, this is of course also the speaker panel, the way to select the speakers, to check that the presentations they are providing is in line with the expectation of the audience. So these are things which have to be carefully monitored. Then on the event rollout, as I said, remote participation becomes a standard. So we had 40 persons following this event also remotely. Of course, one of the drawbacks was that in the B2B session, the poster session we organized at the end of the day, we didn't manage to include these participants, the remote participants, but that is something we can think to do better next time, also to have them included in a B2B session. One thing I think which was also valuable in this information day is that each attending company had to present itself in a booklet. So we had a digital conference booklet. We had 60 companies attending, and each company had to fill up a form where it described its activities and its references, its previous track record in this domain or another or a parallel domain, but which could serve also the research domain. So everyone who was involved was also fully active in the preparation of the event. And maybe maybe another point is for the rollout is, of course, I believe that it's important more and more also that participants traveling make a full traveling experience, so to say, and this includes also the side parts of the pure technical content of the conference, and that bringing in cultural or proposing cultural elements in the conference visits, sightseeing, recreative, and also another dimension which is more and more let's say sensitive is the protection of the environment, making friendly environmental conferences, and here also I think we have still to think about improving also this aspect of the way we organize such events. Okay, finally, I will be stopping here. Of course, the ultimate goal is always, a company attending a conference, this is a business development action, but ultimately the goal is, of course, to obtain a contract. So I would like to say this is something which is difficult to measure, to assess at this stage. In the reverse direction, the KPIs for the labs is to increase their supply options on their to make their supplier lists more consistent and to have more sourcing for their procurements. But again, this is difficult to assess after such an event. But not to forget the ultimate goal, and this is why I strongly believe that when organizing an event, it has to really be tailored on purpose to the right publicum. So I'm finishing with that. My last slide is just some factual data of the event, but these are not so important to describe. That's it from my side. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Michel, for sharing with us this first experience in trying to strengthen the relationship between our laboratories working on astronomy and industry. Moving on to the other topics, our next speaker is Nigel Wagstaff. He's the Innovation Advisor at EATRIS, the European Infrastructure for Translational Medicine, and he will briefly explain the involvement of EATRIS in artificial intelligence and machine learning in healthcare and the plans to engage industry. So when you want, Nigel.
Page up again. Yeah, I just want to highlight an ongoing activity in the field of artificial intelligence and machine learning in healthcare. Something that started in EATRIS and is going to broaden out through the activities of ENRIITC, we hope. EATRIS is the distributed RI in the field of translational medicine, and that really means getting everything possible, be it diagnostics, prevention, treatment, or medical devices, as quickly as possible from the laboratory to the clinic. And it's extremely broad because it covers the areas that I've just indicated. And artificial intelligence can interact with that in very, very many ways. So we've been for some time interested in developing the network in this area. They're different worlds, as I will highlight a little, but with tremendous potential if we can put them together. They have the potential indeed to revolutionize healthcare in many ways, from diagnosis through to treatments. But it's complex. The healthcare world is conservative, highly regulated. Validation is very important. And these are things which some artificial intelligence companies, and they can be large or small, are not always familiar with. And from the healthcare sector, we don't always know where to look to get the kind of software which could really make a difference. So bringing together the actors and the different perspectives is key in this area. And we've kind of chosen it, or it's chosen us in a way, because of the tremendous potential and the fact that we can use our network. Because EATRIS is distributed among 13 member states and covers a wide network of different activities and projects. So we're working to create an international network and to broker interactions in this field. And we started as EATRIS with an online symposium in January 2021 to really identify initiatives and projects within our own RI and outside, and to bring together various parties involved in that. Going on from there, we have the ongoing network, which comprises both SMEs and larger companies, and links together entities active in digital healthcare expertise, and RIs, our own and others, involved in healthcare projects. So there are several activities already going on, several projects already going on in that area where we've managed to engage SMEs and larger companies. We have some contacts with CERN and other big science entities and with big data companies. And we feel we can play a role in promoting cross-sectoral contacts through ENRIITC. We've appointed in EATRIS a data director. He has a number of tasks, of which this is one. So going on from there, and we're really in the middle of this, and we will be learning lessons the rest of this year and further on. We want to use the cross-sectoral interactions that we have through ENRIITC and other networks across ESRI domains. And this is a field which really focuses on that cross domains. We have an upcoming brokerage event in the ENRIITC program entitled on the Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning Revolution in Healthcare. That's being organized for June the 30th. We've decided to do it online because our SMEs across the whole Europe and even farther afield are probably not going to spend time and money coming to a location, nice as it would be. So we will try and do that online, and that's a little bit of a learning exercise for us because we actually have no idea at this point in time. The end of this month, we will open registration. We have no idea how many entities will actually attend. So that's very much a learning experience, along with the fact that we're bringing together different worlds here. And naturally, we hope that the contacts we will be brokering will continue to access the network and activities after ENRIITC through EATRIS and other networks. So that was what I had to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nigel, for explaining us how you are enriching this field even more. So now we have Angela Zennaro, Head of Industrial Liaison and Technology Transfer at CERIC, which works in the fields of materials, biomaterials, and nanotechnology. Angela will address a very relevant topic, how to build relationships from a research infrastructure perspective. So, Angela, when you want.
Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. Sorry, because I'm trying to share the presentation. Yes, here we are. Can you see my presentation? Not in full screen now? Yes, correct?
Yes, now perfect.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, I will try to be brief and stay in the 5 minutes. And in this presentation, I will just show how we do things, how we try to relate with the industry. Take into account that the CERIC is a consortium of research infrastructure in Central and East Europe. So we have to deal with different kind of levels of industrial zone and technology transfer. Take into account, sorry, because industrial zone for CERIC is corresponding to ICOs. It's the ICO role for us. So just not make confusion, but I'm an ICO, even if my title is industrial zone. Regarding events to relate with the industry, we used to, target different kind of persons. What I mean is, like, it's not the same to try to shape an event targeting R&D management or targeting R&D researchers. It's completely different. It's different, the focus is different, the language that you have to use, and it's different what you want to present. Of course, R&D researchers are not the ones that take the decision to acquire or to access to the facilities. It's more related to the R&D management, this kind of decision. But it's true that the R&D researchers are the internal promoters inside the company about our services, our offer. So that's the reason why we used to shape events that can target both R&D management, but also R&D researchers. Regarding the events that we organize targeting R&D management, for us it's quite fundamental. Take into account that already CERIC is a complementary institution. What I mean is all the different research infrastructure that are part of CERIC have a complementary offer in regarding material development and innovations. But for us, it's quite fundamental to invite to our events also complementary institutions in the whole value chain of material innovations. What I mean is that we can do fundamental research, but we like to invite to our events also institutions that can let's say, cover other steps of the material innovations in order to offer to industry a vision of a complete solution about their innovation and their innovation issues. What we could do, and I don't know if this is something that can be adopted by other research infrastructure or other consortium, is that our research infrastructure are part also of bigger entities, bigger research entities that not only offer analytical techniques to characterize and analyze and characterize material, but also as technologies developed behind the analytical techniques. So what we show, or what we started to show to in our events, is not just the analytical characterization part, but also the technologies developed by the entities that are part of the consortium. And this is also in the optic to offer a complete solution to be seen by the industry as a place to go when they have to, let's say, when they have to think on about innovation on materials. Because we can offer the characterization and analytical techniques that are part of CERIC consortium, but also technologies developed in the same field. Regarding R&D researchers, we use this kind of events to link scientific academic knowledge to industry scientific knowledge. So in this case, the events are more technical, where we show state-of-the-art techniques, how they works, which are the instrumentation that can be relevant in the focus domain of the research, and also we try to show presentation of cutting-edge research undertaken on those instruments. Apart from that, apart on targeting industry with R2B events, we also have to, let's say, improve our knowledge sharing. What it means is that we also organize training for the ICO's offices of our partners in the consortium, but also trainings on industrial, on how to target industry for researchers of our partners in the consortium. This is also related to the fact that also our researchers are the promoters, who can be the promoters according to the events where they are going to participate, can be promoters of our capabilities to industry. We also like a lot to invite external experts on topics related to industrial zone and technology transfer, but not necessarily related to a research infrastructure environment. We try to think a little bit out of the box and to invite external experts that are maybe never worked in a research infrastructure, they work in industry, or they work in other kind of entities. Regarding knowledge sharing, it's also important. It was also important for us to understand how to improve our, let's say, offer, our offer to industry. And what I mean is that we realized interviews to industry staff to understand how to improve their access or their experience with research infrastructure. We did it for energy companies, and we planned to do it with other sectors. We came out with findings that were more or less obvious or already known, which were the issues for why industry sometimes doesn't approach so often research infrastructure, but also some findings that were a little bit surprising, like what they state, more than one, is that they would like to have a pan-European calendar of beamline slots in order to better, let's say, organize their research, their collaboration with the research infrastructure. Sorry, I don't know why this is appearing later, the titles, I'm sorry. Regarding how we choose, this is the few tips on how we choose the companies to invite to our events. Of course, there are the contacts, the direct contacts that we already have, or industry companies that already used our research infrastructure. But of course, our target, any new event, we want to target new companies, new industry that didn't collaborate with us from the beginning, in the past years. What we use a lot, we use different methods to define which companies we want to invite to our events. we use a lot of patents. We use a lot of patents in the meaning that in the patents, I mean, companies, the things that they consider important, they patent them. So we decide which is the target of which is the topic of the event. We analyze the patents related to that topic, which are the main applicants on that patents. And after, for the main ones, we analyze their own portfolio. What I mean is, like, for example, this is like only figures, like explicative figures. No, the numbers are not real for sure. But for example, if I think that Philips Electronics should be a better target than the Panasonic Corporation for the numbers of patents that they have in the topic that I want to present to them. But afterward, I check the last 5 years of patents of Philips Electronics, and I see that the topic has 42 patents, but they have other topics with 186 or 123 patents. It means that the topic that I want to share with them is not so much strategic at the moment for them. So you look at the number of patents, but you look also at the the last 5 years internal proportional patents to understand which are the real interest in the topic that you want to share or present to them. And we have also used other kind of data and analysis of data to understand which are the better target for us. But this was just to show you some tips that some kind of mythos, kind of information that we use in order to target industry in our case. And thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Angela, for sharing with us all these findings. Now it's time for another ILO organization, and it's a pleasure to introduce you Sylwia Wojtowicz, who is ILO for several research infrastructures in Poland. So she was involved in shaping the training strategy and will explain us some findings related to this. So Sylwia, when you want.
Yes, thank you very much, Belen. My name is Sylwia Wojtowicz, and I am ILO for CERN and Fusion for Energy for Poland. And today I would like to tell you about strategy for trainings of ILOs and ICOs and outreach towards the industry. I've been engaged in work package 2, 3, and 5, and I will tell you about what was done in work package 3. We worked with the document ENRIITC report on the mapping of industry as a RAI supplier and a RAI user. That was worked out in work package 2. But also we made 2 independent surveys. One was addressed to industry liaison officers and the second one to industry contact officers. Also, we discussed this subject within focus group number 1, and we organized 2 Enrich Your Coffee meetings, one with a special guest, Christina Lara from procurement department from CERN, and the second one with Iulianna van der Lek and also Shithaya Vach from CEOS. The main goal of the work was to equip new and already appointed ILOs and ICOs with the knowledge about the basic training requirements recommended for them to fulfill the jobs, and also to work on strategy for cross-border collaboration with other European ILOs, ICOs, and the ERIs. We managed to analyze the current status of training opportunities and requirements for improved training with primary information compiled from ILOs and ICOs. And also we designed a catalog of hard and soft skills to be developed. And we made recommendations for developing a pan-European network of innovation brokers. Why this is so important to have innovation brokers? Because first of all, we need to build relationship between people. Relationships are most important. As you know, numbers are important, but relationships even more. We need to exchange knowledge between ILOs, ICOs in the industry. We need to organize more webinars, meetings addressed to the industry, like the ones that we've heard that were presented today during this webinar. We need to build international consortia. This is quite important for me because I am ILO for Poland, and in Poland, innovative business is mostly small and medium sized. So this is quite important to have a big international partner who can lead the project, who is big, and sometimes, as you know, the tenders are quite complicated, and they need also heavy financial engagement. So the last one, we need to engage small and medium-sized enterprises into big science projects. Most of the ILOs, I must say, they see the necessity to attend training courses. Here you can see the most important topic. They are ranked from number 1 to number 3, where 1 is most important. So as you can see, the most important are procurement and tenders, then promotion of tenders and technologies from the ERIIC, organization of brokerage events, and communication. And why this is so important to have the possibility to attend professional ILOs and ICOs trainings? Because we need to spread the message to the industry that, first of all, ERIIC want to collaborate with the industry, that they have the offer to the industry. They can provide training opportunities, they can be attractive for the industry, and they can work with small companies, which is not obvious. Mostly companies are quite scared about collaborating with research centers when they are small, of course. And also we need to show that collaboration with the ERIIC is effective for the industry, that it helps actually to open new markets. And we need this tool, we need tools, we need a platform where we can gain knowledge, where we can exchange knowledge to work on a sufficient level. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sylwia, for explaining us the ENRIITC training strategy. And now continuing with training another ENRIITC project member, Marco Galeotti, Head of Communication in EMSO ERIC, a series of regional facilities which measures different ocean parameters and offers related data and services. He will offer a different point of view based on his experience dealing with how to involve industry in training. So what you want, Marco?
Yeah, thank you, Belen, and good afternoon, everyone. Today I would like to present the work that EMSO has done during the preparation phase of the EMSO Time Series Conference 2021 in involving the industry. The EMSO Time Series Conference is a biannual conference. We are used to organizing around a topic of interest for the marine science community. In 2021, the topic we have chosen was the observation of the ocean sound, which more is requested by international organizations to monitor the health of our oceans. For instance, the European Marine Strategy Framework Directive asks the member states to report on the state of underwater noise in the surrounding seas on a regular basis. And at the international level, the International Quiet Ocean Experiments calls for improvements in our understanding of ocean soundscapes. Just to give you some numbers about the conference, we managed to involve 25 organizations and 6 SMEs, which more than 112 participants from all around the world. The conference has been planned as a hybrid event with 1 day of frontal presentations and 2 days of training. On day 1, 10 speakers presented on edge technologies and research techniques on anthropogenetic noise, acoustic for studying marine geophysics, uses of marine bioacoustics to monitor animals and effects of human-generated sound. And in addition, we presented also the Ocean Decade endorsed action called One Ocean Network for Deep Observation, of which EMSO is one of the key partners. During days 2 and 3, we have used the EMSO's powerful IT infrastructure to make the trainees work on more than 50 virtual research environments called Jupyter Labs, where we have hosted all the tools and data sets used for fault testing the algorithms and techniques presented by the trainees. But before getting into more details about the training, I would like to underline the importance of the huge communication campaign we did to involve the industry. We worked really hard, in particular on Twitter, with about 100 tweets with the hashtag EMSO-TSC 2021, with which we reached out to almost 300,000 viewers, thanks also to something like 47 active contributors. But the most relevant achievement in the communication effort is having obtained the endorsement by the United Nations as an activity under the Ocean Decade endorsed action that I mentioned before. That is to say that in order to succeed in involving the industry in training events, it's paramount to put a strong effort into communication and to have the support of important players in the field. The list that I made and the last item on the visual is an example of such a support in relation to our sector of competence. Finally, this is the list of courses we performed during the conference, and without going into much detail, I would like to highlight the importance of having world-class trainees coming from the most advanced organization in the field, like Universitat Politècnica de Catalunya or Monterrey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, among others, to attract the industry. The facilities of the European research infrastructures like EMSO are usually the most excellent center in Europe and sometimes in the world, and we have the potential to involve the industry in transferring knowledge that could be delivered only by our first-class scientists. I conclude my presentation by saying that the easiest way and more effective way to start working with the industry for the research infrastructure that are not yet used to it, in my opinion, is exactly to engage them in developing new skills through the training, knowledge that could be used to improve performances or create new products. The next step, of course, is the development of new techniques, tools, or even the establishment of spin-offs or startups. And that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing with us your findings. Now is my turn. I am sharing my screen. Yeah. Okay. So my name is Belen del Cerro. I am the Spanish Industrial Liaison Officer for ITER and other fusion-related devices, and I am working for CDTI. So we will now explore R&D initiative. So I will share with you how early investment in R&D in collaboration with a national institution in Spain can help to position industries. Very briefly, I will introduce you PRISMAC, that is the High Field Superconducting Magnet Program. So, as you can see, PRISMAC contemplates the jointly development of prototypes and a series of the latest generation of superconducting magnets, and also the construction of a magnet laboratory at CEMAT, that is the main laboratory in Spain working with superconducting magnets. So this is a jointly initiative between CERN, CEMAT, and CDTI. As you can see at the end, we have a win-to-win relationship between all these parties. So the initiative comes from CERN, who is co-financing the development, and CERN have established this kind of agreements between some countries, not only in Spain. Let me explain how this kind of approaches offers this win-to-win relationship. So, for instance, in the case of CDTI, CDTI is supporting the knowledge transfer to industry, that is acquiring references at an early stage experience. CEMAT hosts the magnet facility and dedicate high-tech human resources working on cutting-edge technologies for prototypes development. And finally, CERN, because CERN is avoiding a monopoly situation is reducing the cost and is also increasing the competition. And at the end, is guaranteeing the large series production on time and, of course, its corresponding maintenance. So, sorry. In this slide, you can see which are the main drivers and challenges of this project. Talking about the drivers, superconducting magnets are key elements in the development of new particle accelerators and synchrotrons, and also in other areas such as diagnostic imaging and cancer treatment systems. There is a market opportunity in the medium and long term. Looking at CERN strategy, because there are a lot of facilities to be built in the long term, such as high Lumi LHC, the IFSCC and CLIC, and also the ILC. In relation to the technological challenges, well, let me say that the objective is to increase 10 times more the number of collisions that currently occur in the LHC. Also, they are looking at having more compact and cheaper accelerators. So finally, I want to talk to you about the synergies with future projects, and we can find some synergies in relation with other national facilities. For instance, Spain has an interest in this kind of accelerators for clinical use. And of course, there are synergies with DONES, that, as probably you know, is a facility included in the European fusion roadmap for testing first-world materials to be used in future fusion reactors. So all of these support and justify this kind of initiative. So I just stop here. I will introduce you the next speaker. So I am happy to have ICTS free domain represented with Wahid Rofagha from PRACE. I am sure he will provide some interesting remarks. So go ahead, please.
Thanks for this. Let me share the screen. I assume you can see it. Well, I am for PRACE. PRACE, we're based in Brussels. We're the headquarters of an association of 26 high-performance computing centers, national centers. You've got in front of you the details of my organization. It's a very vast organization. We have lots of activities. And the main activities really in a nutshell are training, and we provide access to the machines and to the systems. And since we're in this in this setting, in our mission statement, initially our audience is the scientific community and the industrial arena. From like historically, the DNA of our organization is science, and industry plays a role, but it always played a bit of a sideline, and there was always a bit of a conflict, and still is, I guess, bringing these together. And I would like to concentrate in my little presentation on this, on these two areas and how the conflicts can be overcome. For me personally, they are kind of no-brainers, but it turns out that in reality, the scientific community has a still has this kind of well, not a difficulty, but adapt its his or her language to the audience, which is the industry. So at the beginning of my job here at this organization, I said something along the lines, which is a pitch, staying strictly to the truth, it didn't work, because they reaction was really, that's interesting, but we don't do science, so we don't have the time for that. It's slightly just changing the language, and suddenly you hear, you see the people listening to you. It is because the nuances have changed. Instead of talking about our expertise and our excellence, we're talking about what we can offer to their operations. And suddenly they say, well, tell me more, this is interesting and it might help our business. So that's the main goal of everything we do as a scientific driven organization working for industry. I have created a bit of a overview focusing on the priorities. So when you look at the three elements and the first one on the left, and then you see that if you look at the scientific audience, and then you look at the industrial audience, they're talking about the same elements, but their attendance and their approach is completely different. I won't go into each single line, but you will probably agree with me that industrial audience, when they look, for example, at a at the measure of success, they look at their optimization of their own processes. Whereas someone was saying the other day in a conversation with a scientist, my currency, we used the word currency, is the discovery and the exchange with my peers. So all these elements, I think it helped me anyway, in my exchange with industry on behalf of my scientific organization, to take that on board and facilitate my own conversation on the daily basis with the industry. So in a nutshell, really what in this job and also in the other jobs, I'm coming from industry, but now for some years I'm working for the scientific academia kind of environment. So I keep on telling to my friends at Science, it is the customer you're using, you're talking to, and it's not about yourself. And I'm using the word customer because that's a bit of a whoa, no-go word in the scientific arena. But that's what it is. It is customer centricity, and scientists have this assumption of having the vice versa, knowing what I know, but they don't, and they're interested in you because, you could probably bring something to their industry, which they don't have. But that's something we need to be aware of on a daily basis. So priorities, accommodating their priorities, and keeping in mind what they need from you, us, and not what you have and we have. And that goes along the lines of, we all agree probably that we have, on behalf of our organization, fantastic technological excellence, but, we can keep on bombarding our counterparts with that, but it's not very helpful, really. It is about listening to them and understanding their business model and seeing what we can offer to them. That's about it. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much, Wahid, for sharing with us your point of view that is especially relevant, coming from someone who has been in both worlds, in academia and also in industry. So next to last, the story behind PRACE, that is the Pan-European ILO network working for big science. So let's hear what Nikolai Thangenberg, Innovation Manager at the Danish Technological Institute and ENRIITC Work Package 3 leader, has to say about this. So Nikolai,
Great.
Are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you
Thank
hear
you
me?
very much. Yes, we can hear
Excellent.
you.
Good
Thank
to
you very
see.
much.
As you can see, I've been listening from the car, and it's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much. Now, I communicated with Javier about, a 5-minute pitch. What topic should it be about? And I choose sort of to do something from the ILO perspective that we already heard quite a lot of stuff from. But here we actually talk about the underlying dilemma that's involved in the collaboration. Because really, as Michel pointed out, this is about getting contracts to companies in your home country. So we are being financed by our ministry, and what they emphasize is that we should get contracts to Danish companies. So that also means that Danish companies are competing with Spanish companies and Swedish companies, and if a Swedish company wins the contract, then the Danish company didn't. So we are really competitors, all the ILOs around the table. So why do we then collaborate? And I thought a little bit about it, and I think I have 3 main things that are worth dragging out here. And I'm actually going to wrap them in an anecdote, all of them. Since I do remember the time we were very focused on only the Danish companies, and we did events for Danish companies. We did industrial exhibits with the Danish company. We still do all that. But then there was an event going on in Canada, and there was not too many Danish companies who wanted to go, but we should still be there and represent the Danish industry. So we decided that this was in the context of a EU project called Brightness. And there we said, well, the Dutch had a similar situation, not too many companies going. So in the end, we said, okay, let's stand together and be at this Brightness booth. So that was quite interesting, and that actually gave me the opportunity to talk a lot with Toon Verhoeven from Holland, who's the ILO. It started to dawn on me that really, actually, we're sitting with a lot of the same problems, and having one voice to speak to the facility would be a huge advantage. So I think later in the same year, we had the first Big Science Business Forum, and we really elaborated on the fact that we are sitting with the same kind of problem. If we go to the facilities, not just as an ILO from Denmark, but really as a whole group of ILOs, we have much more impact. So that's point 1, that we have a big voice when we go together. The second point, I think it was also touched upon by Anna in the first presentation, because actually Toon had brought one Dutch company along, and they had a poster, and I also spoke a bit with that company and realized that they could actually do something special. As far as I remembered, it was within bracing technologies that actually I realized none of the Danish companies that we were working with, they had the same competence. So since that event, I actually a couple of times reached out to him when I had a Danish company that needed this kind of service, and actually made the link. So these synergies you can achieve by not just looking internally within your country, but also reaching out all across Europe is actually quite a strong tool as well. So that was my second point. We have these synergies. My third point relates to the fact that I was invited to participate in an industry panel at this event, and I should give sort of 2 slides just introducing who I was. What I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to explain the whole ILO concept in Europe, and did it in my head a couple of times, and realized if you're from the US and someone from Europe is talking about individual countries, and you sit here, and all of a sudden it sounds like the most heavy bureaucracy you've ever experienced. So really, my third point is that this is also about a shared European vision for a big science industry, not just from one country, but actually someone where you can collaborate with a lot of different partners. So that's really sort of one of the visions that also drive me in this international work that we're engaged in. So that's all I wanted to say. No slides, but a little anecdote. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Nikolai, for sharing with us how cooperation make us stronger, I think. So finally, last but not least, we have Michel, Head of Business Development at ESRF, that will share with us his view on how working with industry as a user has evolved with the COVID pandemic. So when you want.
Yeah, thank you. Last and very much least, and that's absolutely fine. I think it's so. All I want to do is just say something about how we've changed with COVID. I mean, there's nothing new in what I'm going to say here, right? I mean, COVID has really disrupted the entire world in very many ways. We've been suffering from it now. Only now at the ESRF on Monday next week will we going to be maskless in the buildings. I can be maskless in my office here because I'm on my own. But we're now moving to actually do that. The canteen is going to open again properly. We're going to get rid of some of these plastic dividers, and we're almost going back to sort of whatever the new normal is. But in between time, business has changed. The way that we're working the ESRF has changed. The way that you're all working has changed. The way that we live our daily lives has changed, and it's not going to go back to the way it was. Not entirely. And at the ESRF, COVID 2019 was forced an adaptation to everything worldwide. As I said, there's been significant changes in the way our business is conducted at the ESRF, whether it's the business with the academics or the business which we deal with in the business office with the clients from industry coming to use our beamlines. And in 2020-21, the client mobility disappeared. People couldn't travel. We actually closed for a certain amount of time. We reopened, but only for people that could send their samples here. This completely changed the way that we work. A huge pressure and load on the beamline staff, the beamline scientists and the postdocs who have been absolutely amazing during this period, because they suddenly took on actually doing the experiments for the academics and for the clients. It wasn't the clients traveling here to do their experiments, it was the staff doing it for them. It changed our outreach. We did all those webinars like we've been having in ENRIITC, and they're here to stay. They're very powerful, very good, and we reach a vastly wider audience than we just go out to an event or a brokerage event or whatever it might be. The webinars are extremely powerful, and it's something we've learned. We've learned also that virtual booths are a waste of money. We did it twice and got no visitors. Maybe our booth was just simply crap, but we're not going to do virtual booths again. And in 2022, this year, sample mobility has actually been a problem because of the Russian war in Ukraine. Actually moving samples across borders, even within France, down to the ESRF has become problematic simply because there's a pile of, it seems with the couriers, there's a pile of packages at Charles de Gaulle Airport that is just slowing down progress of samples coming through from the couriers. It's just simply because of logistics. So first of all, we had COVID, now we've got the Russian war, and it's certainly not to belittle the Russian war in any way at all and its impact on Ukraine and what's happening, which is absolutely disgusting. But the sample mobility this year is going in the bin and is causing us problems as well. But coming out of COVID, it wasn't all negative. We've learned a lot. There's an increased access flexibility to us in the academic world as well, where we're changing and adapting to the changing user community, as well as the demands for perhaps having more service work, having more naive users. That also applies to industrial clients. And I think there's a longer term change with more remote access, more standard services, more day-to-day access to the ESRF, rather than having sort of so many specialized users here. The more effective outreach, the de facto change. We're going to use electronic outreach much more with webinars like we're doing today, whether they're long, in-depth training webinars or whether they're just short sort of coffee-style webinars like ENRIITC has been doing. I think that is here to change. And so for us, COVID, there really has been seismic changes. We would not have been doing the things that we're doing today if it weren't for COVID. So we've had to adapt and change. We've learned an awful lot very quickly, which is, in some ways, it's a good thing because we've had to adapt so fast. Without COVID, to be honest, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing today because of those changes. And I think we've actually come out fitter and better for the coming 5 to 10 years with industry, partly because of that. We have funding from Streamline, which is why the logo is up here. We're lucky we've got a European grant that is helping us to adapt a new business model of the ESRF, including with industry. And of course, we've benefited largely from the ENRIITC network, and we hope to very much to carry on with the ENRIITC network in the coming years, 23, 24 and beyond. And that's all I had to say. Attention. That was it.
Okay, thank you very much, Ed, for sharing with us how COVID has changed our lives, but also it's good to see some positive impacts. No? So thanks to all the speakers for sharing your stories. I would like to highlight how all this diversity and experience can be so useful to everyone. How just by sharing what we do, we can improve the services that we provide to industry and research infrastructures. To conclude, I would like to link this presentation with ENRIITC training strategy, which identified relevant skills for ILOs and ICOs. These skills included soft and hard skills. Among the soft skills, which were common to ILOs and ICOs, are networking, collaboration, communication, and management skills. Some hard skills which both ILOs and ICOs identified were technology transfer, licensing, industry collaboration models, and event organization, IPR, and business know-how. Some of these topics have been covered by this pilot series of training webinars, and I think that we can conclude that during the series we have learned and seen that ILOs and ICOs have a common ground for mutual collaboration. This collaboration enrich our job, expand our interests, and increase our creativity. Now we have prepared some slide of polls for discussion, but I will skip this part anyway. Some of you have already answered. You will be able to answer after the meeting if you want. And I will go directly to the conclusions of the meeting. Yeah. So this is the last part. Yeah. To conclude, I would like to thank all of you for your collaboration and enthusiasm on behalf of EATRIS and CDTI, organizers of the training and organizational webinar series. We hope you have enjoyed it and remember that there is a specific ENRIITC session at the BSBF in Granada on the 4th of October with a training session, networking, and more. So regrettably, we are not going to be able to address all the questions that I see in the chat, but we will have time in Granada for discussion. So stay tuned to the ENRIITC communication channels for registration and other news. And of course, see you in Granada. Bye. Bye-bye. And thank you very much for all.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Belen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Looking forward to
Belen.
Granada.
Thank you.
Yep.